Well, he's been training in Font-Romeu for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Mo Farah, since that Birmingham race where his ankle caused him so many problems, he got the ankle fixed. It's more of a sort of bone clicking problem, as I understand it. And training has been good with his coach, Gary Locke, Paula Radcliffe's husband, up in Font-Romeu. And Bashir Abdi joined them there a week or 10 days ago, and then they flew in yesterday from the Pyrenees with that altitude training benefit in their systems. So Ryan Gregson here, Hannah, has got to lap at around, we'll call it 65, 66 seconds per lap to keep Mo on schedule. It's quite a tall order.
It is, but we've got a high caliber athlete there in Ryan Gregson doing this job for Mo, as is Dave McNeil. Great return to form for David McNeil with a 13:08. I think he ran a few weeks ago. It's great to see him back to that sub-13:10 shape as we approach another Olympic year. So two fantastically good Australian athletes in the lead there, and Bashir Abdi as well. Will be great help to Mo. So if anyone could do it for Mo, I think it would be those guys. So it's a 65 first lap there. We'll do our best to keep you up to date with the lap splits and the K splits and let you know how on pace they are. We were spoiled at the University of Birmingham with wave lighting. It made it ever so easy to instantly tell whether someone was on pace or not. So we'll do our best.
Don't get me started on wave lighting. But Gregson from McNeil, Bashir Abdi, who I think will take over the middle stages and try and drag Mo for a lot of the middle of the race. They're great friends, training partners, have been for 2 or 3 years now, I think. And Mo Farah, if he is back in one piece, so to speak, and the biomechanics are all working, and the knee bones joined to the hip bone and the hip bone joined to the backbone and all that sort of thing, then we could see something special from Mo Farah here. Of course, he's dipped his toe into the world of marathon racing since Rio, since that fabulous double there, but he's not the man who took to marathon racing like a duck to water. I think he left it a bit late, really. You know, if you move to marathon racing at 34, you've sort of done so much at other distances. I think he didn't really have time to build into marathon racing. People expected so much of him, so he's turned his back on the marathon, so to speak, and has announced a year or so ago his intention to try and race the 10,000 meters in the Tokyo Olympic Games and go to at least defend his title, if not retain it. But his selection all depends on him here tonight, getting the qualifying time. He's got to get under 27:28. Mark Scott has that qualifying time, although I understand Scott has at the moment got a fairly nasty foot injury, so whether or not his Olympics is on or not, I don't know. Voigt back there in 5th place, the German, has run 27:49 this year. He was 4th in Birmingham, but that's a long way off the Olympic qualifying. So 2:44 that first kilometre, Hannah. They needed inside 2:45 to be on 27:30 pace, so pretty much perfect. 2:44.46 at 1K.
And I think when you see people on their best 10Ks, for me, I think it's almost you've got to lift in that last 2K, last 3K. I think you want to get that momentum, you want to get through a significant portion of the race all right, and then you can start racing, you can kind of take the handbrake off, and that's what I'd love to see tonight. If they can be bang on this 27:30 pace, and then lift. And whether Mo will have company at that stage of the race, whether there's caliber of athletes given company in that stage in the race, we won't know for another 20 minutes or so. But let's hope they can have a real battle over that last mile or so and push each other to a fast time.
Well, there's quite a few spectators in the arena. They're nicely sprinkled around the stands all the way around this stadium, so he will be getting support throughout. Will Mo Farah, and he'll need it in the latter stages, I'm sure. But Ryan Gregson, who's been one of the greats of Australian middle distance running, is bringing them along at the moment at just about the right tempo. Of course, somebody like Mo Farah can wind it up in the last 2 or 3 laps. He can make up a lot of seconds, so they don't need a big cushion going into the last mile or so, the last 4 laps. But they won't want to drift too far outside the required tempo. Remember, they're looking for laps of around 66 seconds. So, yeah, things going okay. Early stages.
And just a word on what we I've got Paddy Diva won the NCAs in the 10,000 metres. He was outside the qualifying time, but he did win the NCAs, which is really exciting. I'm excited to see him in the 5,000 metres, I think tomorrow. But it would have been great to see Paddy Diva get under that time with that NCA victory as well. But we have got Sam Aikens under that qualifying time. He did that in December last year. A big breakthrough and a fantastic weekend where I think he ran the 5K time at the same time, just showing off, as if one qualifying time in a weekend wasn't enough. We got another as well. So we have got a bit of depth in that men's 10,000 metres, which is really exciting.
Well, they're coming down towards the 2 kilometres now. They need to come through in about 5:30 to be on 27 pace, and Grayson goes 3. How about that for metronome? For metronomic running, 5:30.34, 2:45.88. That second kilometre, and that's okay. That's okay. If they drift just a few seconds outside the required tempo, don't panic, don't worry. Mo is the consummate racer. He has an astonishing ability to get things right in major championship racing or in races where the pressure is on the track, and he will be sort of calculating how things are going here, trusting those in front of him to get the splits right, but also very aware of whether or not he's drifting outside. And there will be times being shouted at from the sidelines. His coach Gary Locke is here, of course. He will be keeping a very, very close eye on Mo's tempo. And at the moment, the field are making their way round and coming through with 19 laps to go is what they will see. Only one athlete is detached at the moment.
It's good to see Paolo Surafal staying involved there as well. He's operating well under PB pace. He's got 29.25 from the C race at the European Cup. That was just a domestic race. He won. He didn't win it in the end, but it was a very competitive race. He looks like he's much more on his limit today, maybe on that PB pace. And Mohammed just drifting slightly back from that, and Finn McNally at the back at the minute, but probably still operating well under PB pace. This is a very high caliber 10,000 metre race.
Last chance, it's unlikely to go to the rank order because 10,000 metre running is pretty hot at the moment. So all of them will be looking for that 20.
So Gregson from McNeil, Abdi, Mo, no change because the tempo is demanding. Voigt there in 5th place, and behind Voigt is Cabram of Norway. I wonder how far Gregson will go. He is a 1,500 metre specialist. Dave McNeil, who will take over from Gregson. He's run 7:46 this year. That was in Melbourne back in April. His 5,000, he's run 13:12. That was in Perth back in May. He ran 13:14 in Nice last week, well, the 12th of June, a couple of weeks ago. So he's in very good shape. So I think a lot of store will be put in McNeil here to take Mo and Abdi through to 5,000 perhaps and beyond, and then maybe Abdi to take some of that third quarter before Mo has to actually do the hard graft himself, the heavy lifting in the latter stages. And Gregson steps aside, 8 minutes on the clock. He's done a wonderful job, really has kept them on schedule. 5:30 at 2 kilometres. They've just gone through 3K. Now McNeil, not only arm sleeves but gloves as well. We can forgive that for an Aussie, can't we?
Certainly can.
This is winter weather for them.
That was, I think, around 8:12, 8:15 through the 3K, which is 8:15. We bang on that 27:30 pace, and again some really metronomic kilometres there from Ryan Gregson as he hands over to his compatriot Dave McNeil. I did clock the gloves on the start line and thought if he wants to throw them off anywhere near the commentary box, I'll take them for him. Maybe the arm sleeves as well, because the temperature has dropped, but if you're running 10,000 metres, you're probably all right. Just to keep you up to date on the domestic field behind, and Mohammed is just closing in on Paolo Surafal. I'll do my best to try and get a 5K split on those two, so we've got an idea where they're at halfway. But it's very exciting up the front with Dave McNeil from Bashir Abdi and Mo Farah.
Felix Boer is in there as well. The Frenchman ran a personal best in Leiden in the Netherlands of 27:51 just this season. He's in 5th place at the moment in that light blue strip to right of picture. So it's McNeil, Abdi, both pacemakers, then Mo Farah, then Cabron of Norway, and Boer after that, and then Kripper sporting a shorter haircut than I've seen him in many years. 27.51 3 weeks ago. 10,000s take it out of you. I don't think it's necessarily that easy to run a couple of 10,000s in 3 weeks. I'll be interested to see how Cripper goes here. He's trying to close up in that group. He's isolated at the moment in 6th place. He really just needs to put in a hard couple of laps to try and close up and then gather himself, take a bit of a breather. But when they're moving at 27.30 tempo, it's all very well to sit here and say he needs to put in a couple of hard laps, but that would mean he'd have to run a couple of laps at 27.20 pace or 27.15 pace. Not easy.
No, and Ryan Gregson was running 66s. I feel like David McNeil's running 65s, and that's going to start breaking apart this pack that we've got. And you see Cripper has got himself, he has put in that big effort over the last 200 or 300 to get himself back onto the back of this group, because it's a long race now. If he gets detached, I'm sure he'd much rather be part of this group. Maybe overreach slightly now and hope that they slow down a little bit. Dave McNeil still on that lead. They come through with 15 laps to go. And that was a 66 low, so almost a 66 flat there from Dave McNeil.
Well, that's good pacing. This good news with a third of this race done, just over 1,000 done, is that everything's on schedule. Mo Farah looking okay. Cripper still grimacing there, the little Italian, trying desperately to get back on this group, although I think he's lost a bit of ground this last 600 metres or so. Mo Farah with that long, loping stride of his, still looking very comfortable, isn't he? It's such a familiar gait. We've seen it again and again in great championship races in London and Rio and world championships here, there and everywhere over the last 10 years. And of course we've seen it in major races in the commercial circuit too, in particular in Eugene, Oregon, the home of distance running in the USA, where Mo Farah has perfected his racing craft. He's a brilliant, brilliant racer. Sometimes sits towards the back of the field in the early stages, moves up towards the middle of the field in the middle stages. Towards the latter stage of the race, he'll gradually ease up round the outside towards the front, and then with a lap and a half to go, usually just gets to the lead and winds it up. And it's very, very hard to not only pass somebody in the first place, but to pass somebody who is accelerating all the time. And that's Mo Farah's major skill, is he just keeps cranking it up. One little click of a switch at a time. Mo Farah can demolish fields with that nasty, nasty tactic in the last couple of laps. It's very, very difficult to overcome. But he's looking good at the moment in third place. 12 minutes on the clock, 4,000 metres, 10.59. So the first 2K was 5.30. The second 2K was 5.28. So, yes, David McNeil has injected a little bit of pace to this one. It looks like it's going to lead to at least 5,000 metres, which we hope will be around 13.30. And I suspect he can go a little bit further than that. He's looking quite comfortable, the Australian. 24 years old now, and Rio Olympics finalist. He's accumulated a lot of experience. Cabron is beginning to struggle in the orange for Norway, as it is Mo Farah and his pacemakers, as we expected. 13.10 there, so it'll be, yes, at 5,000, it'll be about 13.42, 13.43. That is, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. A little bit inside 27.30 tempo now. The big question is, how much help can Mo Farah get here? How far into the third quarter of the race can McNeil and indeed Bashir Abdi take the Olympic champion? It seems bizarre, doesn't it? The reigning Olympic champion having to fight for qualification for the next Olympics. I think at the World Championships, which World Athletics, the world governing body, controlled, quite a few years back now, they decided the reigning champions should have an automatic entry to the next World Championships. That's never been the case in the Olympic Games. You have to battle for your spot in the Olympics, and I suppose there is something rather right about that, rather sort of superior, and it feels good, doesn't it? You know, the Olympics are special. Nobody should get a bye. Great job by McNeil as they come through.
We saw Dina Asher-Smith talk about it earlier. She said she wanted to earn her right to the next round of the British Championship. She got through in a canter, but she still wanted to feel like she belonged, and you have to do that in the Olympic Games, with it only being every 4 years. It's so special. I don't think you can have a bye to that. The great news is they were through 5K there in 13.42, so that is under 27.30 pace. They need the 27.28, but they were well on schedule in that first five kilometres. But halfway, it's just race. Bashir Abdi and Mo Farah, they do so much training together. I'd hope this feels pretty normal for these two, but hopefully with a bit more oxygen than they've had in the last 3 weeks, and they can just keep supporting each other and pushing on this pace.
Well, the pacemaking has been perfect. Well done to Ryan Gregson and Dave McNeil. Fabulous job through the first half of this race. You say, Anna, 13:42, double that, and you're just inside the 27:28 required by Mo Farah. And he's looking comfortable for my money. So is Bashir Abdi, mind you. We know he's in great shape. He's just coming off that 27:24 personal best in that race in Birmingham 3 weeks ago tomorrow. Abdi set a personal best by, I think it was 9 seconds in Birmingham. And Mo Farah hanging on to his coattails here, not looking stressed at all. This is an invitation race, remember, even though it's in these British Championships, have been a special edition invitation race organised for Mo Farah, and I don't think that's stretching the bounds of what is reasonable. He's the Olympic champion. He's served Britain so well in race after race after race in major championships. I think it's the least the Federation could do was organise this, and well done to them for doing so.
Well, you just got to look at the crowds that are still here. You know, it's 5 to 10 on a Friday night. It's pretty cold, but I feel like this is the everyone that has turned up to watch today is still here. You can see all the young kit carriers, they're giddy, they've got their phones out, they're taking photos, they're cheering Mo on. If that's not a reason enough to put an event on like this, I don't know what is. But I am really hoping Mo and Bashir Abdi can keep this pace going. So this is 6 kilometres here. I think we were looking for 16:30. So they are bang on 27:30 pace with that 16:30. So they are on it, but they're not under with 4 kilometres to go.
Yeah, but that's perfect, isn't it? You know, Mo. He'll, barring disaster, this next 3,000 metres, he will wind it up and get comfortably under the standard. He's looking okay as Mo Farah, certainly infinitely better than he did 3 weeks ago in Birmingham when he looked so out of sorts. And at the age of 38, he's looking superb. And so I have to say is Bashir Abdi. And Abdi, by the way, well, he is a special athlete, 32 years old. Mo Farah might be the former European record holder at 1,500 metres with 3:29, but Abdi's run 3:36. He's run 13:04 for 5,000. And listen to this. He came second in Tokyo in March last year in 2:04.49 for a marathon. He's the national record holder for Belgium in the marathon, so he has great speed, enormous strength, and I wonder how much of that is down to having become the training partner of Mo Farah, and the benefit has rubbed off on him a little bit. But Abdi doing what we hope, taking Mo Farah, checking his watch there through this third quarter of the race, and he drops out there with 9 laps to go for Mo Farah. Farah on his own. Now, he's never been a time trial specialist. Mo Farah has always been a great racer with a capital R. We've loved it. We've all roared him home in race after race with the hackles on our necks going up, with our excitement rising, people all over Britain punching the air and screaming him home as he's taken gold after gold. But this is a big challenge, Hannah, there's no doubt about that. This is Mo Farah against the clock, all alone. It's relatively unfamiliar territory.
It is, and I don't like to see it. Like you say, he's such a racer, and you see his his game, and all he's got right now is some lap runners to look at. Hopefully a lot of, we know he's got buckets full of passion and determination, but can he bring that to light in a scenario like this? Can he keep himself on pace? He's got Paolo Surafel 50 metres ahead of him. Can he keep his head up, and can he use that as a target? Use his imagination almost to see that as a competitor, to keep himself going. But it's going to be hard last 2 miles for Sir Mo Farah. He trains hard, but this is all on his own there.
I don't want to be the bringer of bad news, but he's about 3 seconds outside schedule as he's gone through there. When he goes down the back straight, he'll hit the 7 kilometre mark, and he needs to be on 19:15 there, and he's not going to be on that. He's going to be on a 19:18, 19:19, something like that, I think. So Mo needs to really dig deep. He needs to keep focused. We know he can generate speed and make up quite a few seconds on the final couple of laps, but Mo Farah is coming up to 7 kilometres, and he needs to be on 19:15, and he's a little way outside that, 5 seconds outside it, 19:20.45. The challenge is there now for Mo Farah to keep that drop off the required tempo to a minimum as he continues to lap athletes. He's had a great job done by 3 pacemakers, one after another, but now the pressure is on him.
And you go through bad patches in 10K. I think when you're on your limit, no one's going to feel good for a whole 10K. But that's 7 laps to go when you're feeling tired already. Will not be a happy sight for Mo. 67 though, we would need 66 deads, 65 and change. So he's not miles off. He's not really dropped that pace.
No, he's not. And I think, as long as the gap's not too big, with about 1,000 to go, Mo is perfectly capable of making up that deficit. But I'd like to see him getting closer down towards the 66-second territory that he needs now, or it could become a big hill he's got to climb. Not a mountain, but a big hill he's got to climb with a mile or so to go. He's looking strong, he's looking determined. The stride length is still there. I think he'll be all right. But there is a question mark now. As McNally has dropped out in front of us. Finn McNally, the 29-year-old from Brighton Phoenix. Mo Farah doesn't need to do that. He soldiered on to a solid 27.50 clocking in Birmingham 3 weeks ago. Here tonight he needs to run nearly 20 seconds quicker. When you think about Mo and his track record this last 10 years or so, Hannah, he doesn't have bad races. 21.03 there at 7,600. Next time he comes through, it'll be 8 kilometres, and at that point, we'll be looking for 22 minutes exactly. He's about 5-6 seconds outside the schedule required. They are roaring him on here in this Manchester arena. Hannah, come on, what's your prediction?
This next K's big for me. He's gone from running 2:43s, then a 2:47 and a 2:49. If he can maintain that 2:47, 2:49 territory, I'm not too concerned. If he's dropped too much further off that, then I do get nervous. But this will be 8 kilometres to go. Sorry, 2 kilometres to go, 8 kilometres in. I think as a distance runner, you can suddenly feel 5 kilograms lighter. When you see those laps ticking off, you feel a bit more relaxed. You feel like the end's in sight and he could lift. We know he's got so much speed.
There is stress, there is pressure showing on that brow of Mo Farah as he comes through in front of us. This will be 8 kilometres. To be on schedule, he needs 22 minutes exactly. It's 22:10. He's 10 seconds outside it. He's got 2 kilometres to go, 5 laps of the track, just over a mile. Bashir Abdi there, roaring at him, encouraging him, trying to get it on, but he needs to turn it up here. He needs to run a very, very crisp last 4 laps next time he comes through. And I'm not sure Mo Farah's got that in his legs, or has he? Because as you say quite rightly, that last kilometre was a 2:50. He's gone 2:47, 2:49, 2:50. He's getting slower. And Mo Farah, if ever he's needed to call upon those supreme powers and dig deep, it's now. But this is, as I said, not what he's used to, having to do the graft in the latter stages. Normally he'd be surrounded by bodies now and just winding himself up psychologically for that big kick. Here he is the pacemaker, he's the front runner.
It's one thing, what we've seen him do in the closing 800s and championships, because he's surrounded by athletes, because he's fighting for that victory. It's so hard to artificially engineer that competitiveness and that fear and lift, but he's not giving up. Mo is not giving up. He has 1 mile to go.
He does have a mile to go. He's gone through in 23:17, and he needs to run this mile. Well, you can work it out for yourself in about 4:11, 4:10. That means an average of 62.5 seconds per lap. Now, okay, he can have a couple of 64s here, but then he's going to need to really wind it up through the last 2 laps, and the pressure is on. The question mark is getting bigger. Farah has got to run the race of the latter stages of his career here to go to Tokyo and make it onto that plane for the British squad. Everybody wanting him to, everybody willing him on, but there is a real fatigue to that stride now, isn't there? There's not the bounce, there isn't the cadence, and I'm not sure he's going quick enough.
No, I think he's settled more into that 2:49, 2:50 pace. That's just what's comfortable for Mo right now. Not that anything's comfortable right now when you're this far into a 10,000 metres, as he comes up with 3 laps to go.
Mo Farah is going to come through here after a very tired lap, the first one of his last mile. It's around 68 seconds, that lap. It's just not quick enough. He's leaving himself too much to do over the final 2 laps. He's got to be desperately tired here, Mo Farah. Come on, lean into it, Mo. Remember, conditions not great. It's still a little bit windy here in the Manchester Arena. It's been blowing quite healthily all day, -3 and more. Some of the sprinters were having to contend with in the 100-metre races earlier on this afternoon, but it's never really let up, and we won't know until you get onto that back straight and to the home straight, try and run into it, just how strong it is. It's definitely a factor, and that hasn't helped it. It might have made that little incremental difference between Mo getting the qualifying time and not getting it here tonight, or will he? Less than 2.5 laps to run.
That was 9 kilometres there. I think he is slightly further off. The 24.45 would have been the pace they need, but he is back down to a 2.47k. He had slowed to 2.50, and that was a 2.47. He's still going to need a massive last kilometre. I think he's going to need a 2.30, which is 60s, which, as much as I hate to say it, I can't see Mo lifting to 60-second laps on his own right now. But that was a good start.
He's gone through in 25.32. No, I'm afraid he needs 156 for his last 800. Even Mo Farah, in his pomp, would have struggled with that. He is tired, we know that. And don't let's forget that 10,000 metres 3 weeks ago wasn't a stroll in the park. He ran injured, he ran in pain, he still ran a pretty solid time, 27.50. And that maybe is in his legs now. It's been a quite majestic run and an attempt at getting the qualifying time, but it is nigh on impossible now. Mo Farah's going to have to run something like a 53 second final lap, and I think the opportunity has gone. Farah grimacing there with 500 metres to run. Everybody trying to willing him on, blowing him down this home straight maybe, as he comes down now for the penultimate time. But I think the opportunity is gone. Yes, 26.28 has gone 4 or 5 seconds ago, and he's nowhere near the line yet. It's going to be so near, yet so far for Mo Farah. He goes through in 26.40 with a lap to run. It's going to be quicker than his run in Birmingham 3 weeks ago. But maybe the training that was taken away by that injury when he ran in Birmingham, apparently it was his first time on the track in over 2 weeks. He'd also had a slight reaction, I heard, to a vaccine going into Birmingham. Felt like he'd almost got a bit of a cold. So he was up against a double challenge in that race at the official UK Olympic trial. And here he is with 200 metres to run. Still, Hannah, remarkably able to race his game a bit.
No, and it's been great to see him stick to his task and empty the tank in this race. And he would have done that out of respect for the crowd that's here cheering him on. Everyone is still excited to see Mo race, and this is why, because he gives us all every time he competes. 100 metres to go for Mo, and that Olympic qualifying time has just ticked over on the clock.
He is out on his feet. He looks far more tired than he did in Birmingham, where his performance was compromised by a foot injury. But the reigning Olympic champion here, Mo Farah, comes home well outside the qualifying time needed. It's been a fabulous run, so full of character, but unfortunately some 20 seconds almost outside the qualifying time that he needed of 27.28, 27.47. It is faster than his run in Birmingham by some 3 seconds and bits, but that is Mo Farah, absolutely